Everybody, it's Tony George from Doc Sports along with Griff Murphy. Happy New Year, almost. The next time we talk to you, well, it'll be next year, Griff. How was your Christmas, buddy?
It was good, man. I got to go home and hang out with the family, kind of settle down a little bit, decompress. It was good. It was nice. Now I'm back in Arizona. I'm ready to go. How about you?
It was good. Family and friends all around, and that's what it's all about. And some good laughs, some good food, and yeah, wishy-washy. Well, not really. College football game of the year cashed on Air Force last week.
Yep.
I've got another one this week that would be a game of the year, except I already used it up. So it'll be a strong 7 unit on Friday. And folks, we're sorry that we'll tell you about that later. We're sorry that we're coming to you a day late, but as Griff mentioned, holiday travel and kind of having Christmas on Monday kind of put us back. And we had only our third losing show of the entire season last week. So we got some making up to do today, Griff. We just got stung last week on the show, so we're going to clear it up for you here this week, and we're going to open it up with the free plays. Of course, be sure and get over to Docs. Check out the free $60 link in the description below. You can see the link above on the screen, upper left-hand tab corner of the website as well. Get yourself hooked up. There's some big roles going on with me personally in college basketball and the NBA. And I know Griff's been rolling along as well in the NBA this year and pounding out some top play winners for you in football. So us and 12 other guys, a couple of consensus services all over there at Doc. So go over and check it out. Smash that subscribe button. Thumbs up. We appreciate your comments as well. Let's get to it here. A glorious week of bowl games. And I said this on a free play video before, and it's going to come into play in our second pick today. But it's a little different now, and I've been doing this longer than you, Griff, of just figuring out, what a team's motivation is in a bowl and what the coach's record is in a bowl. Because this transfer portal and all this nil money is well on its way to ruining college football. College football now is nothing more than a training camp for NFL tryouts. And that old school pride and playing for your school is out the window with all these opt-outs and transfers. And in this game here in the Gator Bowl between Clemson and Kentucky, total 44.5, Clemson laying 4.5. You've got more of a transfer portal situation with Clemson. They got 4 defensive starters out, including their leading tackler. Kentucky's got didn't really get hit by it at all. Although Stoops was distracted, he was up for the Texas A&M job and didn't get it. But nonetheless, thing about Kentucky is they really were stinking it up earlier this year, and then Leary kind of got going at quarterback. They started to design more throws for him. He seemed to do a little better. They're off a big win against Louisville, 38-31, where they were out first down and out yarded and still won the game against a highly ranked opponent. And then you've got Clemson limping in here after a very disappointing year. They took some hits on that vaunted defense of theirs. How do you think this one shakes out now at the Gator Bowl?
Yeah, Tony, you kind of pretty much set it stone there. It's what's the motivation factor in this game? These two teams are squaring off right now, and Clemson's not typically used to playing in the Gator Bowl. Clemson is the type of team that's usually playing in that college football playoff or a much higher tier bowl game. So this to them is kind of a little more diminishing. For Kentucky, on the other hand, on top of that, with Clemson, a lot of players in this matchup are opt-out for this game, whether it's the draft or whether it's the transfer portal. Like you said, Tony, for Kentucky, for them, the majority of their guys will be playing in this matchup, including their star running back, Ray Davis, who initially declared the NFL draft, then tweeted that he will be playing in the Gator Bowl. So they're pretty much stacked up for this game. And then you really look at it, well, they upset Louisville to end the season in regulation. And this was when Louisville was 10-1 playing very good football before their debacle against Florida State, where they lost that matchup. So Kentucky coming into this game with motivation, saying, hey, we're not here every single day, every single year. So now we have an opportunity to not only have ourselves a finished strong season, but now we can wrap a bowl game under our belt. So, Tony, the only motivation factor that I really see in this game for Clemson is Dabo Swinney. He's 11-8 during bowl games, and he wants to win bowl games. They've won 4 straight games. He wants to end the season with a finish. Do I think that's going to be enough in this matchup? No. I like Kentucky in this matchup with the points. So give me Kentucky and the 4 points in this matchup. Shifting gears over, though, Tony, to the Sun Bowl. We've got number 19 Oregon State versus number 16 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is laying 6 points in this matchup. We've got a total at 41.5. Kicks off Friday, December 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can tune in on CBS. Well, Oregon State's dropped 2 straight matchups, and they are currently 3-3 on the road. I look at road records in bowl games because they're always played at neutral sites, so it's something to definitely keep into account. For Oregon State, they have a lot of people out in this matchup. For Notre Dame, their star quarterback, Sam Hartman, has elected to the NFL draft, so he will be out in this matchup. Tony, how do you see this game rolling?
Well, speaking of disappointment, this game here has about as many starters out in it on both sides of the ball as the Georgia-Florida State game, which is too bad because those would be 2 really good football games if they had all their starters in. And I don't think either one of these teams thought that they would end up in the Sun Bowl, especially the way Oregon State started out this year. And, of course, Notre Dame, eking out a few close losses there. But you've got 2 teams here that nobody's familiar with. Both starting quarterbacks are out. They're missing about 6 or 7 starters each. What are you going to get? And this is the problem with the bowl system right now. I think you just get rid of these frickin' bowls next year and put a 16 or 20, the 16 team playoff in. Or I think it's 12, but they're going to go to 16 at some point and call it good because all these opt-outs and transfers. And here's another game. What the hell do you expect? What are you going to get out of either team? Notre Dame hasn't played since Thanksgiving weekend. Their last game was against Stanford on November 25th. What are you going to get with a team put together with backup quarterbacks, especially in Notre Dame's case, with no team chemistry? Never been in this lineup has never been in a game together. How are you going to handicap that and take a significant financial position on it? It's difficult to do. But one thing I can tell you is I think this thing goes under 41.5. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in it. The last 2 games that Oregon State played, they played powerhouses, Oregon and Washington. 38 points in the Oregon game and only 42 points in the Washington game. And I'll guarantee you one thing, both those teams have better offenses than what Notre Dame's going to bring to the table. And I'm not sure without their all-world quarterback for Oregon State what you're going to get out of them. I really don't know. So give me the under 41.5 in the Sun Bowl. Let's switch gears. We're going to give you a big one, folks. I tasked Griff. We couldn't do the show without one of the college football playoff games. We have Michigan in the Rose Bowl taking on Alabama. Bama currently getting 1.5, total 44.5. I looked at this 6 ways from Sunday, Griff. Alabama didn't impress anybody all year long until they beat Georgia. And they jumped from 8 to number 4 in those playoff rankings. They get them in there over an unbeaten Florida State ACC champion. We all know the politics. They love Nick Saban. ESPN's going to deal with the SEC, blah, blah, blah. And then we got Michigan. Well, Michigan didn't impress anybody all year long either till they beat Ohio State.
Great.
Michigan hadn't played anybody all year long. You had the Harbaugh controversy. Well, you played Penn State, but we all know James Franklin at Penn State couldn't beat a ranked opponent if they only started 8 guys on both sides of the ball. He'd still figure out a way to lose. So here you go again. You don't know the sampling size, I guess, for Alabama is better than Michigan just based on strength of schedule. I
Right.
mean, because Michigan, I, yeah, I don't know what to think about. Are they good? Yeah, they're good. They got a good running back. They got a good quarterback. I mean, Harbaugh is just a complete buffoon in terms of his behavior. He's just kind of a weird cat, for lack of a better term. He's very unlikable unless you're a hardcore Michigan fan. And then you got the stoic Nick Saban. Of course, Harbaugh 0-6 in bowl games since he's been at Michigan. Come on.
Okay.
Every time he gets in a big spot, he steps all over himself. So, I don't know what to think of this game, which is exactly why I gave it to you.
Well, I loved that you gave me this game, Tony, because I know my exact direction of where I like in this game. And we'll start with Michigan. Okay, so they broke down the entire season. They went 13-0. They did everything asked from them, undefeated, which is phenomenal. But
Yep.
if you look at the strength of this Michigan schedule, it was not tough by any means. Their two toughest opponents were against, I'm going to get into this right now, Ohio State and Penn State. And I want to talk about their quarterbacks really fast, and we'll start with Ohio State. Well, that's Kyle McCord. He's a one-step quarterback, meaning he is strictly a gunslinging quarterback. He does not rush in the pocket. He is now transferred to Syracuse out of Ohio State. Then you roll over to Penn State. Well, first off, James Franklin, head coach, he can't win the big game. And their quarterback, that's Drew Allar. He is also a one-step quarterback where he only throws from the pocket. He is not your rushing quarterback. So looking at this right now and breaking it down, you look at Alabama. They've got Jalen Milroe. Michigan has not seen a quarterback on their schedule all season long who can play the way this guy plays. Not only can he gunsling it, but he can tuck it and run. He can dodge the pocket. He's patient. And this guy, Tony, you opened up very early in the season and you had high hopes for him. And a lot of people had very mixed opinions about the way that this guy played football, the way he handled himself as a quarterback. I was kind of on the other side with this throughout the season. I watched him and I was like, I don't know if this guy's got it. This guy's got it. Well, he's got me. I'm sold. This guy is a legit quarterback. He knows exactly how to handle himself in the pocket, and he's doing a very good job doing so. Alabama has one loss all season. That's to Texas. Michigan, undefeated, perfect right now. They haven't played anybody like Alabama yet this season, and they have played nobody like Jalen Milroe. What happened last season when Michigan played TCU against Max Duggan? That's a two-step quarterback. That's a quarterback that can not only gunsling it, but he can run in the pocket. What did they do to Michigan? They dismantled them. I expect the exact same thing in this matchup. I love Bama in this matchup. I love the fact that they're getting a 1.5. I'd take a money line, but if you're going to give me the extra cheddar, I'm taking it. So my play rolling into this game, Tony, is taking Bama with that plus 1.5. Tony?
The other thing I think you need to consider here is the pressure factor, because Alabama's got no pressure on them at all. They're going to play loose. Michigan, they've had this whole kind of team attitude of us against the world. And then when Harbaugh got suspended for cheating and got caught red-handed for cheating, then they pulled out this victim card in us against the world. And now it is you against the world. Because now you got to prove it against a team that doesn't give a rat's ass. I mean, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. They're going to send Milroe off on a tangent and let him just RPO it and make up his own mind. And the other thing, too, is Alabama, even though I said they haven't done anything to impress, they had close calls against Texas A&M. They had a very close call against Arkansas. Both those games they could have easily lost. They had an extremely close call against Auburn in a game they should not have won. However, Alabama has been in that spot and came out of it a winner. Michigan has not been faced with anything like that all year long. And that might come back and bite him in the ass here too, Griff.
Yeah, I'm excited, especially the pressure's on with JJ McCarthy at that quarterback spot. This is where he's going to have to be the playmaker. If Michigan wants to win this game, that big play from JJ is a must in this matchup. But shifting gears, Tony, let's head on over to the NFL. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals rolling into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Chiefs are laying 7 points in this game. We've got a total at 44.5. Well, Cincinnati was just dismantled by Pittsburgh. I don't know where that came from. Pittsburgh looked like the best team in the NFL after what I saw. And you got Jake Browning now, kind of exposed a little bit. Threw for 3 picks in that game, had 1 touchdown, and he looked awful the entire game. I was not impressed by not one drop back the entire game. And then you roll over to the Chiefs. Well, they're coming off a loss to the Raiders, but the Raiders right now, they just put up 60 points against the Chargers. Now they beat the Chiefs. Kind of really in the air right now with this whole Aiden O'Connell at the quarterback spot. My head's spinning with this Raiders team right now. Chiefs currently 7-7-1 against the spread this season. Tony, how do you take this game with the Bengals rolling into Kansas City with them laying 7 points at home?
Well, if you don't have Cincinnati in a 2-team 6-point teaser, you've done lost all your marbles, for starters. Second of all, what the hell's Kansas City doing laying 7 to anybody? They just got beat by a team as a 10.5-point favorite who didn't score a touchdown and did not complete a pass in the last 3 quarters of the game at Arrowhead, and you lost. Come on. You're laying 7. I put Cincinnati in the category of San Francisco last week, where Baltimore clearly proved to everybody on the planet they're the best team in the NFL, bar none. And that's without Mitchell at running back they lost. That's without Mark Andrews at tight end. That's how good of a coach Jim Harbaugh is. But I put Cincinnati in the same boat as San Francisco. Every now and then, you just have one of them days where everything just goes wrong. Now, there's a lot that can go wrong with an inexperienced quarterback against J.J. Watt and company, in my opinion. That's the only thing that's kept the Steelers in games this year. The concerning thing is, and why this line is so high, is that although Cincinnati not only looked bad in losing that game, but you had third-string Mason Rudolph beat you. And you made Mason Rudolph, you made Mason Rudolph look like Peyton Manning in that. And this guy is horrific. You know, I'm a little pissed off at him. 2 years ago, he knocked me out of the Circus Survivor tie in Detroit, throwing an interception on the 1-yard line, believe it or not, in the middle of the field. Let's not even go there. So I still have bitterness. But Kansas City's a mess. Kansas City's an absolute mess. And while Browning, remember what they did on the road to Jacksonville, dismantled Jacksonville on a Monday Night Football game when everybody, the entire universe is betting Jacksonville. He's surrounded by weapons. And Taylor's a good coach. I mean, he's a good play caller. His team just laid an egg last week. This is a perfect opportunity for an overreaction on a line. This line should be 3 max. I think there's value in Cincinnati here. Kansas City is a broken football team. If you don't think that they miss Eric Bieniemy, then you're out of your mind, because you know all about Matt Nagy being a Chicago Bears fan, being from Chicago. This guy is a human turd. He can screw up a wet dream. I don't like this guy at all. I think he's a bad play caller. I think Reed needs to step in and have more control over the play calling right now. I think Mahomes is unconfident. I think his receiving core is terrible. Why you would spend $50 million a year on a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and handing this flaming dog turd of a wide receiver unit is beyond me, because everybody's saying Kelsey and then all these TV commercials distracted by Taylor Swift. Kelsey's the only one making plays on the team. He's still doing his job. At least he's catching the damn ball. but Kansas City should not be laying 7 in this game. This is going to be a tight ball game. I'll take the 7, and I'll take Cincinnati here. By the way, so everybody knows, I'm a Chiefs fan. Mrs. George is in the other room, pissed off right now, listening to this because she doesn't like me to have any bad juju against her beloved Chiefs. But you got to face facts. Mahomes is going to see a playoff game. Denver was actually chasing them for a division title, and now we see that Denver's definitely thrown in the towel by benching Russell Wilson. He's out of there.
Oh, yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes is going to see a playoff game on the road for the first time in his life. I'm not sure he can get out of the first round. Not the way they're playing. Go get this guy some wide receivers. I know they got Rice in the draft, but he's still raw. You got to go somewhere else besides that. Now, let's go ahead and get to the next game. And last week, my top pick was the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday night. A rare Thursday night pick for me, laying the number against the Saints. They got it done. And they're on the road at the Giants. This opened up, Griff, at 6.5 and dropped down to 4.5. The Giants, obviously, Tyrod Taylor stepped in. They looked a little better offensively as a unit. What's his name? Danny or Tommy Cutlets or whatever, who the hell, DeVito. He's had his 15 minutes of fame. And nonetheless, the Giants, though, don't seem to be an easy out for anybody but Dallas, apparently. But they gave the Eagles all they want. Now, the Eagles are struggling a little bit. You still got this Ram team. You still got this Rams team on the uptick. And I had said this 3 weeks ago, and I'm still maintaining this. I think this is Sean McVay's best job coaching ever, because this team was left for dead on the side of the road. They were going to battle it out with Arizona for dead last in the division. They were gutting the team, blah, blah, blah. And they still, Stafford's playing as solid as he was when they won the Super Bowl. They got a couple of good receivers. This was it Kyrie Williams, or last name's Williams, at running back has been nothing short of phenomenal. And, you still got Aaron Donald running around there on the front line wreaking havoc, which he may in this game. Your thoughts on this one? Total 43.5.
Yeah, Tony, we're on the same exact page with this game, and I've been riding with the Rams. I've been riding this Rams team literally all season long. I don't know the record against the spread, but this team is really doing a good job covering the spread, let alone winning ball games. And I don't know why the books keep underpricing all of their lines. This team is for real. They are a legit good football team, and they are currently in playoff contention, and they decide their fate. The Rams win out, the Rams make playoffs. Giants last week, after losing to the Eagles, they have been eliminated from playoff contention, and they're officially out. So there's not as much pressure on the Giants going into this game. But the Rams, you've got to look at this. Sean McVay's already got 2 Super Bowl appearances as head coach. He's already got himself a ring. He's seen it all from bad to great. He's a phenomenal coach, and he couldn't have a better quarterback in Matthew Stafford at the helm for them. He's a veteran. He handles this team really well. They have a mixed group of age with the team, whether young, old, receiving core in particular. You've got Cooper Kupp. You've got Puka, who's looking like a rookie of the year. I mean, they go on and on. You've got Atwell, Higbee, and I think Atwell should be utilized way more with his dynamic speed. When I look at this Rams team, I can compare them to the Dolphins offense. I'm not going to compare them and say that they are in that range, but they're right there behind them. When I look at explosiveness, dynamic, I see all of that with the Dolphins and the Rams when it comes to versatility on the offensive side. With the Giants right now, you know what they're going to do. They're going to try and bust the game up with Saquon Barkley, with that run game. But you got to remember, as you mentioned, Tony, you've got Aaron Donald on the defensive line. This guy, what do you do when this guy's ripping 3 guys' heads off and coming at you full force, especially with the team momentum base coming in for a playoff spot? This is too much for me right now with this Giants team, and I think the Rams are continuously, week in, week out, being underrated, especially on that point spread. I think the Rams are going to light them up once again on the road. I'm laying the 4.5 points with the Rams in this matchup. And Tony, go ahead.
The spread record is 9-5-1 against the spread for the Rams. Number 2 is When you look at this game, I want you to think about last week and what you saw against the heralded Philadelphia Eagles. These are Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams are both in the NFC. Where are these teams at right now? If you see LA cruise a little bit here against the Giants, and then you saw Philly struggle against last week, that'll give you a good barometer of where these teams should be ranked and should be rated and go from there. Because you have an equal barometer here, and they have the only disadvantage, I guess, would be that the Rams going to travel across country on a holiday week, coast-to-coast trip to play this game in inclement weather where they're a dome team, which, as far as I can see, Griff, that's really the only advantage that New York has.
Yeah, and a lot of people can really look at this game and kind of bounce back and forth and say, hey, well, the Giants just put up 25 points against the Eagles. Newsflash for everybody. The Eagles defense sucks. It is not a good defense. And that is breaking point of why the Eagles are no longer that 1, 2, 3 top team. They're there, but their defense is a huge debacle that needs to get fixed. Shifting gears to our last segment, and that's the Tony Teas'em. Tony?
Yeah, we got our butts kicked last week because we did not do well with Denver getting beat. What was that, by the way?
Oh.
And I guess that Mr. Coach Smith from the Atlanta Falcons listened to me because last week I ranted on this show that he gave Bijan Robinson, their number 1 draft pick, only 8 touches when they lost to the Panthers, the worst team in the league. What'd they do last week? Well, they switched quarterbacks, got rid of Ritter, put Heineke back in. They got Pitts, the tight end, involved on numerous plays. And Bijan Robinson got the rock not only on the ground, through the air. And guess what happened? They beat the dog piss out of the Colts. Good. So I guess that's my resume as I apply for numerous head coaching jobs that are going to be open in the NFL at the end of the season. That being said, let's go ahead and get to by the way, just reverting back to last week's show, how'd your Cowboys do? How'd your Cowboys do, buddy?
I knew you were going there, man. Tony, we're going to talk about this game, all right? And I meant the Cowboys at home. But this is a phone call that we're going to have, and we're going to figure out this whole flash up here. And I'm going to explain what I meant with Dallas being one of the top teams in football at home. All right, okay, Tony?
I would say that you're going to find out this week. But what do the Lions have to play for? That's this lone Saturday game. I want nothing to do with Dallas because I think they're a slow-moving train wreck when they play anybody good. Now, you've got the Lions that just wrapped up a division title, the first one in 30 years. They don't want to get anybody hurt. They're not going to improve their position. They opened up as a 6.5-point road underdog. Now it's down to 4.5. You know, neither one of them is going to play any defense. If Goff and company show up, they could shred Dallas all day long. I'm telling you. So now you're going to have a little something, a little fodder to throw at me because Dallas might get a decent win this week. But if they don't, you're eating crow, mofo. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, absolutely.
My teaser of the week this week, and I'm double checking my lines right now live, because I can. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the team you just talked about, the Philadelphia Eagles. What are you doing laying 10.5? You're 1-3. You couldn't cover a 13-point spread last week. You were lucky to win the damn game. Arizona, despite the record, they haven't thrown it in. Denver, benching Russell Wilson, they've thrown it in. But I'm telling you, Arizona has been a pesky team all year long. And with Josh Dobbs at quarterback, they beat Griffin's Cowboys like a redheaded stepchild behind a woodshed. This is a team that is capable with Connor and all the weapons they have. Murray's been playing pretty decent ball. It's all under the radar screen. It never matters. Nobody pays attention. But let me tease them. to 16.5 to cover the number against the Eagles.
I love that.
Eagles are just looking to get out of this thing healthy. They really are.
Yeah.
They're looking to get out of this healthy and get a win. That's going to be their motivation. Number 2 is the Tennessee Titans. Get them teased up to 11.5, folks. Get them teased up. Houston, they still don't know whether Stroud's going to play this game.
Yep.
Now, this game 2 weeks ago was an overtime win by Houston on the road. A miracle finish in this game. Keenum had a couple of big passes out of nowhere. At the end of the game, Levis got hurt for Tennessee. They had to bring Tannehill in off the we can't get ready to wave you bench. And nonetheless, it looks like the rookie's going to go again this week, and they get a second chance at him. It's very difficult to beat a division rival who you're evenly matched with twice in 3 weeks, let alone lay 5.5. But go ahead and bump that up to 11.5. We're getting that through 6, through 7, and through 10. I think Tennessee will give them a ball game. Your teaser this week, the Cardinals and the Titans, and one that I almost put in there, I just couldn't pull the trigger, was the Patriots getting up to 19.5. Coming off that win last week, Buffalo struggled against the Chargers, who are on the same level as New England. When they played each other, it was a 6-0 ball game. You give them 19 points, and they're coming off, a tough road trip there, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. If you wanted to sneak in a 3-team 10-pointer, those would be the 3 I would use. But the official pick, Arizona and Tennessee for your teaser of the week. Folks, be sure and get over to Doc Sports this week. I have one play and one play only in the NFL. I think that week 17 and week 18 are extremely dangerous. You have a lot of teams that are out of it. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. You got a lot of teams that are playing for everything. And that means the games get tight and they make mistakes. They don't play loose. You're going to have unexpected results. So for that reason, I'm going low volume. There's one best bet on the board. 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. It is a 7-unit pick. I hit both my top picks last week in football with my college football game of the year. And don't forget, in college football, we're sliding in with a 7-unit top play on Friday. We have 5 bowl picks between Thursday night and Monday only because of the reasons, Griff, we discussed. In a lot of these games, even with the Power 5 conferences are more susceptible to you don't know what the hell's going on versus the smaller name schools, because everybody wants to play because they're in a bowl.
Right.
But now you got the big boys and not a lot of these, non-Power 5 conference teams playing. So for that reason, I'm going to tiptoe. It's like the NBA. If you don't know who's playing, it's kind of hard to handicap,
Yes.
So we have a 7-unit play. And then I have a 5-unit top play on Monday. I have an extremely strong opinion in the Texas and Washington game. That's what I've got on deck. What's going on this weekend for you, Griff?
Yeah, Tony. So I'm rolling in. I have 2 plays in the NFL side of things. And I have a little bit different of a bias when it comes to these bowl games. And I find it more so if you do your homework and you really prepare for these games and actually find out who's playing, what key players are out, what key players are not out, et cetera, et cetera. If you dive deep enough, you could find some answers that you were not able to find during the season. So I actually am going a little bit heavier on my college slate. I have 3 bowl games all primed out, already mapped out and sent out. You can check them all on my Docs file. They're all inside the football category, as well as I've now drilled on the NFL side of things 5 straight 7-unit best bets. So for 5 consecutive weeks, I've hit my 7-unit 5 times in a row. So I'm going for 6 right now. I have my 7-unit going out on Sunday. So just capping off on that, I've got 2 in the NFL side of things. I've got 3 on college football, and that's what my weekend's looking like, Tony.
Yeah, to just touch on your point, just sitting here, just, shooting the crap like two guys at a sports bar. I dug into a lot of these games, and every time that I found a game where, let's just take Notre Dame and Oregon State, point counterpoint. Well, the quarterback's out, this guy's out, that guy's out, the leading tackler's out on their side of the ball. The problem is with Oregon State, it's the same exact thing as Notre Dame. So they counter each other. Where I found value in this particular setup last week was with Air Force. Air Force lost their last 4 games because they lost Larry, or their quarterback, and he
Yep.
was their whole team. The sum of all parts are greater with him in there. Well, they were getting him back. And then on the other side of the coin, on top of that, the armed forces are 90% straight up and against the spread the last 5 years in bowl games combined. They never have opt-outs. They never have transfers. And on top of that, Air Force, their head coach is a top 10 football coach of college football. I mean, he was a finalist with Matt Rule at Nebraska. It came down to him and Rule. I mean, we wanted to get that guy. He's a good football coach. On the other side of the ball, you had 8 defensive starters out for James Madison. Their head coach was gone, and he took 5 assistants with them.
To Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, they were gone. You're going to stop a triple option attack with one of the better quarterbacks in the Mountain West, with basically 90% of your defense gone and your entire coaching staff gone?
I was on Air Force too, Tony. Well,
Yeah.
you didn't know that. I was on Air Force last week.
But I'm just telling you, so sometimes you can dig deep enough and find them, but I had trouble turning over those stones this upcoming week. Griff did not. Well, I got 5 bowl picks out, including starting on Thursday here in the Alamo Bowl between Oklahoma and Arizona. And then on Friday, the big one. Let's get it done. Get over to Docs. Check us out. Be sure and leave your comments in the comments section. We'll answer some of them. We get thousands of views and hundreds of comments. We can't get to them all. We all want to wish you a very safe New Year's weekend. Stay off the roads New Year's night. It's amateur hour. Be careful out there. Griffin and I will be having a libation on New Year's Eve, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Griff. You're coming up to Vegas.
I'm flying out tomorrow morning, man. So, yep, I'll be in for the weekend. I'm ready to go.
Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck. We'll talk to you next year.
Yep, we'll see you guys next year. Have a good New Year's, everybody.